A very good evening to our viewers. Welcome to ELITETV and you're watching ELITETV's Open Debate in English. I'm Chongtham Amrita, your host for tonight on this crucial debate on the topic PM's Silent Zone, Manipur. In recent developments, the conspicuous silence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi regarding the situation in Manipur, coupled with Chief Minister N. Biren Singh's reserved statements following his meeting with the Home Minister, has left many questioning the leader's approach to the complex issues facing the state. This silence sparks curiosity and invites scrutiny as citizens seek transparency and decisive action during times of uncertainty. The Prime Minister of the country has just concluded his 2-day visit to Assam. He announced Rs 11,600 crores worth of projects for Assam and spoke on many issues of Assam and the Northeast. But he did not mention a single word on Manipur. He was near yet so far from us. On the 28th of January this year, he addressed the nation on his 109th episode of Man Ki Baat. And again, not a single word of reference to Manipur. The last time the Prime Minister made any mention on Manipur was in the Parliament in August of 2023. And since then, he has chosen a stoic silence. The Prime Minister also did not desire to meet the state's Chief Minister or any other leader. This is unprecedented during a crisis of such a dimension. To discuss and debate on this matter, our expert panelists are here today. Let's welcome our panelists for tonight. Our first panelist for tonight is Mr. Satyajeet, Bureau Chief, UNI. Welcome to Open Debate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our second panelist for the show today is Advocate Victor Chongtham. Advocate, welcome to the show today. And our third panelist for tonight is Dr. N. Shantikumar, Professor of English, Hungkou, Delin University, Taiwan. Welcome to Open Debate.
A very good evening to everyone.
Let's open this floor right away. I'll first put the question to Oja and Satyajeet. Do you think that the Prime Minister of our country has forsaken the people of Manipur?
Good afternoon. I would say that under the Constitution we have a Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is a constitutional post. He's the Chief Executive Officer of this country. He is the most responsible person of this country. The President is the de jure ruler of this country, whereas the de facto power lies entirely in the hands of the Prime Minister. So, as he is the leader of this country, it is his duty to look after the properties and lives of this entire country, and every life of Manipur should be his responsibility. That is, I would start with this premises, and I would certainly mention that the Prime Minister, he was extremely busy during the last few days. I mean, as he has started the election campaigning, he was quite busy at Banaras at the Ram issue, and then he visited Orissa. Then yesterday he visited Assam, and he went to Delhi today, and tomorrow he's going to Goa again. So, and during this entire history of his journeys, we can see that he has chosen not to visit Manipur. This is a clear sign of his total disregard of the suffering of the people of Manipur. And I mean, as we have seen that the crisis which we are witnessing is an unprecedented crisis. More than 60,000 people have been displaced. They have no homes. I mean, they are living on the streets. I mean, they are living on the streets. Even this cold weather season, they don't know what to do. I mean, they have a very, very bleak future. When the lives of more than 60,000 people are entirely in the blank, the top executive officer, the most responsible person of this country, that is the Prime Minister, he has decided not to do anything about it. This is extremely unfortunate. I think this would be one of the darkest phase in the entire history of India, and only the Prime Minister himself can say why he has chosen to remain silent. There are 2-3 factors. One is to remain silent and to do something. But in these circumstances in Manipur, we feel that he has decided to remain silent, and the other issue is he has decided not to do anything. That is entire inaction. This inaction has led to death of so many people. More than 200 people have died, and more than 60,000 people have been displaced. And in this entire scenario, we have to see that people of Manipur are in delusion. They don't know what their future is. They are in a depressed state. That is a depression sort of thing and anxiety. So we can say that the next generation, that is the youths, who will be the future pillars of this nation, rather than going to schools and colleges, they are arming themselves. They are now more concerned about weaponization, how to procure arms, how to kill others. So I think Manipur, the people of Manipur, especially the youths, they are rather thinking of how to kill people rather than how to protect people and how to save lives. So that is the most unfortunate part. And in history, we have learned about the 7 years devastation during the attack from the Burma, now Myanmar. That the entire Manipur state was completely devastation due to attacks from Burma. It was completely depopulated. So it took so under the leadership of Gambhir Singh and Nur Singh, they came back. They formed the Manipur Levy and they liberated Manipur from the yoke of the Burmese Empire. So in this regard, what we are looking now is for a leadership within Manipur. Since the central leaders have forsaken Manipur, now I think this is the time to stop thinking about what the central leaders will be doing. Let us stop thinking what the Prime Minister will be doing. Let us stop thinking what the Home Minister will be doing. This is the time people of Manipur should rise to the occasion, and I think this is the time when we should look forward to seeing a new Gambhir Singh, a new nursing, a new leadership who will shape the future of Manipur, who will protect the people of Manipur, and who will stop illegal immigration, who will start fencing the borders, and who will start developing the entire state, and who will invigorate the new generation. I think briefly I would mention this, Amrita, in the first round.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts for the opening statement. Ojai and Satyajeet has said that the silence chosen by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, is that it's a choice made by him deliberately, and also with his choice comes the inaction not to look after the issues that is really harming, and also the conflict within Manipur currently. And also he also mentioned that we need a leadership in and within the state. And regarding that, I'd like to bring that question to Oja Victor, that the Chief Minister of Manipur, Biren Singh, has recently went to meet the Home Minister of India, Amit Shah, and he has returned. And upon returning from Delhi, he has been very quiet. He did not even make eye contact with the eagerly awaiting journalists at the airport. He has remained mute regarding the meeting. This is very much unlike of him, because he usually is very outspoken to the media of his actions. So what do you think is going on with him this time?
Well, it could be in many folds, characters, I should say, in terms of diplomatic questions, wherein, like, as a political leader, he may be attempting or exercising diplomatic restraint. Public statements can have far-reaching consequences, especially during such kind of sensitive situations we have. And by remaining silent, he may be, like, in such a manner that he's of the thinking that he can avoid inadvertently escalating tensions or misrepresenting the state's position. Okay. And on the other side, in the terms of, like, political calculations, Manipur's political landscape is intricate, with multiple ethnic groups and historical grievances. Our CM reserved silence might be influenced by political considerations. He must navigate local politics, coalition dynamics, and vis-a-vis the public sentiments at large. And we have some, at least at this juncture, we have some, as a citizen of India, we have some expectations from the center at this juncture, at least, as a state leader, our honorable CM should interact closely with the central government. There is not, for the last many months, that is not visible, that is not witnessed by all of us. His silence could reflect expectations from Delhi only.
Okay.
And he meets only the Home Minister.
Right.
Home Minister response is like something sort of herald on our society. And during their meeting, might have his subsequent actions as well.
Okay.
And in order to balance those kind of act, our CM just delicately works between the central union government as well as our states, and wherein the expressions of the public are concerns, and maintaining cordial relationship with the central government is also on the fall. And public perception, his silence is also viewed by all of us through various angles, and we as a citizen at least expect leaders to address a crisis promptly and decisively, but his silence is perceived by all of us negatively. It could impact his political standing within Manipur in a very unprecedented manner. That's also his silence is very strategic.
Okay.
And influenced by diplomacy, politics, and it needs to strike balance between the two sides, and a delicate balance is called for. Yet, in such a complex situation, he has to exercise his discretion, apart from the alleged influence as we perceive as a citizen, and the true implications will unfold as events, and it will continue to evolve.
Okay, interesting point that you mentioned, that the Chief Minister and also the Prime Minister is really, indeed, it's exercising his discretion regarding the matter, and that it could, because once they spoke about the situation, especially Narendra Modi ji, that it could mean that more escalation of the communities may prevail. Is that what you're saying, Oja Victor?
Yes, yes.
Okay. On that note, I'd like to move on to Oja Shantikumar, that the silence of the leaders, both Prime Minister and also in the recent event of our Chief Minister, regarding the silence of Prime Minister, both the leaders on Manipur, on the issue of Manipur, does it align with the principles of transparency and accountability that is expected from leaders, and especially during times of conflict?
First of all, about being silent, sometimes we consider it as a golden. But too much silence will make people doubt. Too much silence will make people suspicious and also apprehensive. So this is what created, this is the conditions what created by the silence of the leader of the country. I think so far I have traveled around the world, and I have lived in India, I have been in Taiwan, and I have traveled around the world. I have seen the news, BBC, and CNN and other news. But I have never heard any country's leader, staying silent for so long. I mean, now the situation in Manipur, the conflict, the violence in Manipur is happening for the last more than 9 months now. Which country's leader would, stay silent and mute for so long when people are dying? More than 200 people have died, and more than 70,000 people are living without their own homes and properties and jobs. Not only living in the relief camps, people are suffering because of, because of the very men, they lost their family members, and also they lost jobs. You know, I mean, when I'm talking about job, I'm talking about day-to-day earning because of the conflict. Now in Manipur, but the communities cannot earn freely. You know, people from the valley cannot go to the hills, and hill people, especially the Kuki-Jo communities, they cannot come down to the city for earning their lives. So people are suffering so much, and now winter has come, and people are living in the relief camp. You know, when we stay at home, even we feel cold. But what about living in the camps? You know, we sleep well, we live in comfortable homes inside our warm rooms. But if we cannot imagine actually how these people are facing, you know, today. And also, you know, many people are going crazy, psychologically, mentally going crazy because of loss of their family, loved ones, a loss of jobs, a loss of financial health, you know, they cannot live properly. And still, they never know when they can go back to their own respective places. It seems like they can never go back sometimes, you know. So in such a situation, in such a big scale conflict and violence, how the leader of a big country like India, you know, India has one of the strongest security, security, army force.
Right.
But why PM Modi cannot control a violence happen in a very small place, small state, where just 30 lakhs people live, and within these 30 lakhs, you know, all the people are not fighting. Actually, only two communities are fighting. You know, Kukis and Meiteis. So it's a very small scale actually, in compared to the big Indian forces. You know, so if the prime minister, if the leaders, if the central likes really to solve this problem, you know, it could have been done in a few days. No need even 1 week. But why for the 9 months, more than 9 months, it's still running. People are still suffering. So here, when you talk about this transparency and accountability, if the leaders keep quiet and the mute and the silent for 9 months, how people will believe, how people can count on him?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, so it's impossible. That's why not only the people of Manipur, the people of India, all political parties except BJP are shouting, are demanding, are asking why PM Modi keeps silent for so long. This question has been asking not only with people from Manipur, but all the political leaders, all the people in India have been asking, but no answer. Even now, never mentioned. So, and another point is, of course, democracy. In democracy, we are supposed to have transparency between government and between people. That's why we say democracy. Without transparency, how can we believe? For example, election. There is no transparency in a democratic country like in India. There is no transparency. Why the journalists, why the reporters cannot go and shoot and show the videos, live videos to outside when voting is going on? So there's no. I would say transparency is very low and accountability is very low. I think I will keep this way for the first round.
Okay, I think you have mentioned a very interesting point, and I like to put that to Oja and Satyajeet for the next round. Is that Oja Shantikumar has mentioned that, as we all know, India is one of the top tier in the military sector. So what happens is that when there are 3 or 4 Pakistani terrorists and they infiltrate into Jammu and Kashmir, the mainstream media and also the army, the security, they actively seek those infiltrators and hunt them down and destroy this infiltration. And it is almost completed within 1 or 2 days. But then again, when hundreds of armed militants enter Manipur from Myanmar, this treatment is different. So what do you say on that?
Yes, Amrita, before coming to that, I would briefly say something. I think India itself is going through a certain phase where people are now demanding a new style of election of the selection or the of the chief executive, that is the prime minister.
Okay.
In India, under Article 75, the president appoints the prime minister. Any person can become the prime minister if he or she is the leader of the majority political party. Whereas in the president form of government, which we are seeing in many countries like United States, the person has to come out and contest election, and he or she has to visit every state so that he can win votes. But in India, when the prime minister is elected, the MPs will be electing the prime minister.
Right.
So the prime minister is more concerned about the number of MPs. That's why we give examples. The prime minister is extremely interested in going to Uttar Pradesh. It has because more than 80 MPs. Then in the northeastern states, he visited only Assam because which has a lot of MPs. In Manipur, we have only 2 MPs. So I think that in India we have an defect, whereas the chief person, the most responsible person, is least concerned about the people's welfare, but he is more interested in the number of MPs so that he can become the prime minister of the leader. So though Manipur may be very large, though 60,000 people may be displaced, or 70,000, or if more than 200 people have lost their life, for the prime minister or for the ruling political party, what they see is only 2%. That is 2 members of parliaments. And for example, in the United States, they have the Senate. For example, UP have more representatives in the Rajya Sabha, whereas in Manipur we have only 1. But in the United States, every state sends equal number of representatives. That's why they have still status. That we have not seen. That is quite different in India. So I think that is we see some problem within the constitution. I think this is extremely harmful to the small states like Manipur and other northern states. And coming to the other issue, I would suggest that India's entire security is or security dimension is concentrated in the northwest frontier province. That is the Khyber Pass, China, Pakistan. That is the northwest frontier policy, and it is least concerned about the affairs in the eastern side. That is Myanmar and etc. etc. Because it sees Myanmar as a very weak state, and it sees Myanmar as not a profitable state. And whereas in the northwest frontier province, it sees that the propaganda with Pakistan is quite favorable for election campaigning also, because in the election campaigning of all the political parties, everybody must have noticed, and you must have noticed that they speak about Pakistan only.
Right.
And nowadays they have started speaking about China also, but nowhere in the election campaigning in the mainstream India, there is North India, UP, Bihar, they don't speak anything about this our region only. That is the basic problem with the central leaders. They are not concerned, or they are entirely ignorant. I would not say use the word ignorant. I mean, it may be defamatory also, but I would say that they are not concerned about the welfare, about the economics, the strategy, the defense system in our region. And I would certainly add that in Myanmar is quite important after the opening up of the new highway and all, because in the entire Myanmar, I think more than about 70% of Myanmar's economy is entirely controlled by China. Even in the Mode trade also, where Myanmar and Manipur also, the trading centers, China, when some of the Meetei started trade in Mode, the first person who, the economists or those who started the trade was from China. And from Myanmar people, they were only traders but the main concern was from China. So China has infiltrated economically, strategically from Tamil side also, because all the goods which are available are all Chinese. But that's why we said that India's eastern policy is quite almost nil. First they said look is policy, now they say act is policy. But on the ground level, is nil policy. I mean, there is no policy about the eastern sector. And regarding this, as you mentioned, in Kargil, when Pakistan soldiers infiltrated into India, there was a full-fledged war. We have seen full-fledged war in 1971, then in Kargil also. But in this, but when it comes to Manipur, when thousands and thousands of people they have come inside, and now during the last few years we have seen reports that the drug trafficking, then the the drug lords, they are more interested in pushing militants arms into Northeast through Manipur, and it has come in public report now in newspaper also, because they are mostly Myanmar citizens. And so, since Myanmar is always in trouble, India should start a new policy where the eastern sector will be quite strong. I think India's entire neglect of the eastern sector will be quite harmful in the future also, because China's infiltration through China, through Myanmar, through Manipur is quite strong economically, politically, strategically also. So I think this is a time that India rises to the occasion and do something. But as I said in the first round, Indian leaders, they will be slightly ignorant about about Manipur and the other northeastern states, because their numbers, they always think in terms of numbers. If they have Rajasthan, if they have UP, and if they have Madhya Pradesh, they can form a government. So they are just concerned about South India also, because entire Indian economy, the most of the money is generated from the south, but the entire wealth goes to the north. So the south belt is feeding the northern belt, and we are those who are contributing are not getting anything. This is the same pain which people of Manipur and other northeasterns are facing. I think India, in the Indian leadership, the Prime Minister needs to have extremely good advisors, so that new frontiers open and new diplomatic channels open. And in this regard, I would mention one issue, that is, for example, Moreh. Moreh is extremely important. It is just like in the border with China, that is in Sikkim and Punjab. If anything had happened in the within the Chinese border, or in the Pakistan border, in the border, India government would have pushed in thousands and thousands of soldiers and solved the problem immediately. Moreh is extremely important because it is an international border. It is the threat center, and it is the gateway to the eastern sector, that is Myanmar, Thailand, etc., this way. And when the international border is threatened, when people are coming in, when the 398 kilometers is extremely open, the government of India's entire negligence will be, I think it will harm the nation's security, and it will be extremely harmful to the people of Manipur. That is why we say ignorance and their inaction have led to the death and destruction and properties of the people of Manipur, and we are suffering for that. So I feel that if we increase the number of representatives, if we are more safe from 2 to higher, and if we have equal numbers of MPs in the Rajya Sabha, then I think because Indian, if you see the northern belt, they are less concerned about people from our for people.
Okay.
So I think we have more MPs.
Okay, Satyajeet, you have mentioned a very few good important points, so I'd like to pick that one by one each after this. But first, I'd like to put this question to Oja Victor, that Oja Satyajeet has just mentioned regarding the national leaders viewing this issue of the Northeast, especially with respect to Manipur, from the lens of elections only, because of getting the numbers of representatives in order to gain this power of another term. So do you think that Prime Minister's silence should be seen as a diplomatic strategy? Because by speaking about Pakistan, it garners a lot of votes, but then also India should be concerned about China, which is now infiltrating to India through Tammu and even Moreh, so as Oja Satyajeet has just mentioned. So my question is, should the Prime Minister's silence be seen as a diplomatic strategy, or does it raise concerns about the government's response to the issues in Manipur? What do you think?
In spite of the knowledge by the head of the country, there is the Prime Minister, and the situation we envelop and grappling with a deadly conflict between the predominantly residing, that's the Hindu Meitei, and forming a pair majority and Christian profess cookies and Nagas. This crisis has been like all of a sudden erupt in a very unprecedented manner, and despite the severity of the situations, his silence is something that at your own risks you take your accountability and you take your responsibility, no matters how far it's going to affect or not. It is not witnessing in a very significant manner of being a head of the country. And so I speculate some that Modi's silence could be due to that, as I told earlier also, diplomatic strategy. In the same way, like our CM is also practicing the same. And by not directly addressing Manipur's issues, they avoid those vocals and comments, all those things which goes around on the platform and which rather escalates the tensions, and by taking sides. So by taking side, it doesn't mean that we are put into the side of marginalized society, whereas the union government silence rather provoke, and when the reign of this thing, peaceful coexistence and everything is at their hands, and others' views is neglect of the state, apart from the people who resides there. His absence during his visit to last time that in numbers of states he visited, he fails to visit Manipur, and which again has unrest and which has drawn numbers of criticisms from every corners of the world, and the lack of clear stance raises questions from every avenues and every part of the world, and lack of accountability and the failure to respond in a proper manner, which makes more put into a very aggravating situations. So in the last occasions, European Parliament decisions to discuss Manipur crisis is a positive step, and it highlights numbers of things, but in which, though he is the leader of the country, he fails to reciprocate and puts all those pressures rather on the leaders of the world. And while Modi traveled globally, the crisis persisted and the world leaders remain silent. And so it is something they create a very, very not investing emotionally towards our northeastern circles, especially Manipur at this juncture, because we have it could be because of lots of complex dynamics we do have, and so in terms of ethnicity and history, wherein like the Manipur didn't have any history in terms of in regards to the independence of India, in regards to the assimilations of Mughal and British and all those things, and the state has the problem of insurgency and the ethnic clashes, and so lots of developmental disparities are there, and so balancing security measures with community engagement is also crucial. So he, most of the time, he tries to avoid, and as we have witnessed, we have seen the border issues And the border is again threat to our democracy.
Indeed, yes.
And so in which he has to had a proper vigilance, and the crisis in Manipur reflects broader challenges, as he is well aware of the fact, though we have the democracy, the fabrics of democracy is no longer exist, and organizations like the Hindus for Human Rights are mobilizing to raise awareness and oppose Hindu nationalisms. If we happens to oppose, then we are also gagged. That's the situations we face. So Modi's silence, in a way, it could be diplomatic.
Okay.
Yet, for states like Manipur, it is going to devastate it, and it's crucial for the well-being of Manipur people, and even this about the issue of this border, unless this is sorted out in a very near future, in a proper manner about the communal coexistence harmonically, we have been living together, and so he has to at least need to emotionally invest within our society.
Okay, Oja Victor, thank you for your points. I'd like to stay on the topic of diplomacy in China a little bit longer. That Oja Satyajeet and Oja Victor has already mentioned that there is some kind of a diplomatic strategy regarding his silence as well. So I'd like to ask you, Dr. Shantikumar, that China has made some headway in the geopolitics inside of Myanmar, because with regards to the recent turmoil that was facing in Myanmar also, they have managed to broker a peace between the Eastern Alliance Front and the junta. And then we can see that the India's achievements in Myanmar is very much negligible. So do you think that this is because of the region that Modi is becoming completely gloom and also not speaking about Manipur? Could that be somehow tight?
Yeah, this geopolitical relations between India and Myanmar. The other one is between India and China, Indo-China. This relationship is quite complicated, but Myanmar is one of the countries where the interaction between for example, like war happens. In case of war happens, in case of China like to occupy northeastern states or regions, some of the places in Arunachal Pradesh are already occupied, right? So if such cases happen in the northeast, like for example, like in Manipur or Mizoram or Nagaland, then India has to consider how to protect that. I think so why we have already more than 70,000?
Just to interrupt just for a moment, are you saying that the Indian Prime Minister or the Indian government is waiting for China to invade till the place of Nagaland so that only they can wake up from their slumber?
They might have doubt if China could do that to Myanmar, because Myanmar, the China has occupied so much in business, in relationship, in war strategy with Myanmar, and it's a threat. It's a big threat for India, So I think that might be the one reason why they have sent so many soldiers, army forces in Manipur, but why they cannot solve the problem?
Indeed, yeah, that is the question.
Yeah, more than 70,000. It might be almost 1 lakh of central forces have been sent, deployed in Manipur, but why this such a small scale conflict cannot be? I mean, it just happened between two communities, but why Indian forces cannot control? But that means it seems like they are deployed somewhere else, thinking China. They are trying to. Maybe India is trying to establish, Indian forces camps in certain places in the northeast, or maybe in India. I'm not sure, but it could be. But otherwise, why so many soldiers have been sent, and why it cannot be controlled? The conflict is still going on. So this is one thing I doubt. This is one thing I doubt, why they don't try to control the situation on time. If India likes, it should be controlled by in a week, maximum in a 1 week or 2 weeks, but they cannot control that. So here now the question of China, doing a lot of projects, a lot of business with Myanmar, and also here, India is actually very slow. India is very, very good in talking, but very slow in action. So India walks like pregnant cow, while China runs like a deer in the development pace. So India is very, very slow compared to China. That's why this Kaladan project, I think,
that
has been running for many years, right? They haven't finished yet. But how many projects China have finished already in Myanmar? Then yes, China and Myanmar have very, very good relationship, with the junta government, but still, China has very strong fencing. They make fencing all the border. Myanmar and China border is totally fenced. But we don't have that good relationship with Myanmar. Of course, we have friendship, like friendship movement regime, something like that, right? FMR.
Yes, the free movement regime, with Myanmar, the border.
But then, India and Myanmar, they signed this contract long time ago to help each other to develop, to develop each other, to help. But how far India has done?
Indeed.
How far India has done for Myanmar to make them happy? No, they don't. India cannot do. India doesn't. But on the other hand, China has done a lot, so much. Another example, let me just give you one example. Tibet. Tibet was very poor, very broken before. When I was in New Delhi, when I was studying at Jawaharlal Nehru University at that time, we had friends from Tibet. We were talking, and it was so poor. But now, so developed. The roads are shining, big, But we have been living with India for 75 years. We have 2 highways. Can India maintain well? Can the government of Manipur maintain well these 2 highways? No, they cannot even maintain these 2. So forget about doing projects and business and finishing projects in Myanmar. No, it's impossible. So China has done a lot, but India fails to do. So India cannot have better relationship. I mean, India cannot make Myanmar trust India. So finally, Myanmar likes to go with China. Of course, China also has problem with the junta government because they don't help to catch. They help, but on the other hand, they also don't help to catch those like those frauders, those scam people. So China also, in some way, China also not so happy with Myanmar, but still, China has done a lot for Myanmar. So I think I will keep this way. So India needs to be quick, be action-oriented, not only talking, blah, 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 so good in talking, but action-wise is so slow like turtle. So China and India, their influence, India's influence towards Myanmar and China's influence towards Myanmar is quite different. So I will keep this way.
Yeah, very good point. And then I'd like to move on to this point of neglect. And before that, I'd like to mention that the ties with China and Myanmar are indeed very much strong and infiltrating into the development of the Myanmar infrastructure. And of course, regarding the mention of Tibet that Oja Shantikumar has just mentioned, Tibet being a very separate and even an autonomous state of China is in fact very much developed because of the way that the China is handling them. So I would like to ask to Oja and Satyajeet that are there any historical or political factors contributing to this perceived neglect of Manipur in recent public addresses and meetings by the Prime Minister?
As I said earlier, why is the Prime Minister silent on Manipur is still a mystery to me, and it is a mystery to the entire people of India and to the entire people of the nation. When the Prime Minister spoke very briefly, he spoke about the issue of 2 women. Then later, when there was no confidence motion in Parliament, he spoke for more than 1.5 hour, but he spoke only a few words about Manipur.
Yes.
So even in Parliament also, or outside Parliament also, he doesn't speak about Manipur. And so I think the other issue is the Prime Minister. He is the only Prime Minister in India who hasn't given any press conferences also. So people or rather journalists do not have the opportunity to ask him about Manipur or any other issue. And in this regarding this issue, I would say that the leadership is extremely important in this particular crisis. For example, when after First World War, when the entire world went into the Great Depression, Hoover tried a lot, but Franklin D. Roosevelt, he almost reactivated the United States and became the superpower after the Great Depression after 1921. Just like that, I think Manipur is also going through the Great Depression, and we need a Prime Minister and a Chief Minister who acted like Roosevelt and who re-energizes the entire nation and Manipur and such. And the other thing is ignorance and neglect of Manipur and the Manipur issue will be a monumental blunder for the government, and it is a monumental blunder for the ruling party, because in the next election also everybody will be asking again and again, why is the Prime Minister silent, and why is the Prime Minister not acting or not doing anything about Manipur? And also he has also not visited. And as I was going through the Prime Minister's activities today, it comes through the official PIB website. The Prime Minister met lots of chief ministers and governors during the last 9 months, but he hasn't met the Manipur chief minister, but though he has met the Manipur governor, and today also he met the deputy chief ministers of the BJP deputy chief ministers of Bihar. He also met the chief minister of Andhra Pradesh today. So I think he has time to meet chief ministers and governors of every state. So I think even the refusal to meet the head of state, the entire people of Manipur is a message to the people of Manipur that the central leaders are not worried, do not care about the people of Manipur. And as discussed about the Great Depression of Franklin D. Roosevelt, I just remember a quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt when he became the president of the United States after Hoover. He said, "The greatest fear is fear itself." I think the greatest fear of the people of Manipur are the central leaders. People are afraid of the central leaders. They are even afraid to seek audience with the Prime Minister and Home Minister, and meeting the Prime Minister and the Home Minister is like meeting God or going to heaven. It should not be like that. They should be part of us, and they should be responsible to us, and they should do what people want. I think this is the perfect time. I think the Prime Minister should come to Manipur now, as requested by all the political parties of India, that he should come down to Manipur and he should stay for a few days here, and he should I think launch a major operation here. Because as a closing remark, I would say the major operation in the sense it should be a political operation to resolve the crisis, and it should be a strategic military crisis, because the entire Parbung area, Chorocharpur area, then the Chandel area, it was largely occupied by a Manipur-based insurgent group about 2 decades ago. And they were all, and the government started a military initiative to entirely cleanse out the entire Manipur-based insurgency. And instead of, it was the United National Liberation Front, it was a major military operation, Sajik Tampak, and it was all cleansed. I mean, they were all moved out. And when they went out, the cookie incidents, they came in. And as they came in, they started a new movement. There's this bifurcation of Manipur, division of Manipur, and they started a strategy which is quite harmful of Manipur. I think this is a time the government of India, as it wiped out the Manipur insurgency doing such operation, it should launch an major operation, and cleanse out those parties. I mean, for those Manipur insurgencies, they are indigenous people. But the problems we are creating here, I mean, I think I do not say that all of them are illegal immigrants, but most of them, not most of them, but the people who are launching the movement, who are doing evil things, who are destroying churches, who are destroying temples, who are destroying More, they are mostly illegal people who are not welcome here. I think this is the perfect time for the Prime Minister to come here and launch a major military and political operation in Manipur, so that people of Manipur can say that you are also our Prime Minister.
Very good point, and indeed very beautiful that the will of the central leaders, if they had the political will, that could cleanse out the violence and the perpetrators who are actually creating the violence currently, because they have already done it in the past. And then the question still remains, why has the Prime Minister still not given an audience to the leaders of Manipur? So I'd like to put that question to Oja Victor, that why has that our Chief Minister N. Biren Singh is still unable to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi so far, and do you think that his reach has been just limited to the Home Minister till now? And also, you see that all the political leaders of the state, all the heavyweights, they are still not able to have an audience with the Prime Minister. What do you say on this?
Well, the plan of central government in the last decades has been changed drastically. The present regime of NDA, unlike the UPA, they attempt to destroy the smaller into more smaller, and whereas the bigger is shaped into a bigger one. So they, in terms of demography also, they instigate impliedly and abet to commit numbers of crime, in which as if they are not taking cognizance of. So thereby the smaller groups of communities are making more smaller, and biggers are more biggers. And we have the Muslim communities larger than Pakistan as well, but to address their grievances have never been positively, controlled or positively supported from the governance. And in the year 1947, when we achieved the independence, we have the inclusiveness. And now we are subjected to exclusiveness on the line of religion, on the line of communities, on the lines of caste and creed. Thereby they attempt to run the governance. It is not the within the fall of the preamble. We have the secularism, the republic, the sovereignty. Every one of those provisions are totally shattered, and so in which, like, we, the public, though we witness and we know the pangs of this result, we cannot say anything. So we expect more grievous nature of incident in the upcoming years as well, unless this is put into certain check and balances by adhering to the Constitution of India and by not allowing further to distort and challenge the preamble which is enshrined in the constitutions of India. And since we have the ethnicity, our food habits, and our rich culture, everything is aloof from the other mainlands, the union government at least need to take cognizance, and so that the colorful communities of the northeasterns should be addressed in a proper shape. Otherwise, we will be put into the dark, and darker than our years. The same is being witnessed by all of us. So we need total communications by representing our vocals by our representatives in a very near future. That's my expectation. It is too much.
Okay, that communication and dialogue is much needed with the leaders and also the central leaders to resolve this crisis as soon as possible, because it is now becoming a threat to the constitution, is what Oja Victor has been saying. So I would like to move on to Oja Shantikumar for our last round of the day. And I'd like to put forth the question to you, Oja Shantikumar, is it that Prime Minister Modi's 9-month-long silence on such an issue of a burning state of the country, do you think this is because of his inability to offer an amicable and acceptable solution?
I think, I feel from my own views, and when I compare PM Modi and the other leaders around the world, even in Taiwan, I feel he has a very, very big indifference attitude towards Manipur. And I think it seems like he has given all the authority or all the power or all the responsibilities to the HM, the Amrita Home Minister. And nothing like this. It's just like, okay, all right, okay, I have nothing to do here, so you decide and you do whatever you want. It's like he's just giving the power to Amrita, and Amrita is waiting for whatever he says, or I don't know what he says or not, but but he claims he discusses every week or something like that. Even he's outside India, he says that, but I don't know how far that is true. But one thing is for sure, PM Modi is very, I think I would say, very arrogant, and he has big indifference attitude. I mean, simply neglect Manipur. So before I have mentioned already, like, I have never seen a world leader, a country's leader, who can keep quiet himself or herself for so long. Forget about 9 months. When Joe Biden was busy for Ukraine-Russia war, and he was not giving an address, he was not giving a speech about his hometown, his home country, the derail, the train crash. And he was blamed, and he was complained, and he was condemned by many politicians as well as people. But imagine, 9 months, more than 9 months, just except mention 1 or 2 times, and also not really supporting Manipur, but belittling Manipur when the parade, 2 women parade happened. So he was only talking about that. Yeah. So his indifference attitude is a very, very bad attitude. Actually, not only for Manipur, not only for our people, but for the whole people in India, and also for the whole world. Because the Manipur, the conflict, violence is not just a point happening in Manipur or in India, but it is already known to many countries around the world. So I think he should change his attitude, and he should try to talk. As Satyajeet mentioned before, he is more interested in the number of MPs, so that he can be prime minister again, and he can hold on the power further, instead of thinking for the people of Manipur or for the people of the Northeast. Regarding this, I just like to mention a short example. I like this point. Like, if we change the electoral process, like, for example, in Taiwan, it doesn't matter. The county, the state has how many MPs or how many lawmakers they have, because every single person, qualified, above age 21, they have to vote for the president straight, directly. So every county, every state, almost every locality, the president, the presidential candidate has to go and talk to them. But in India, what happened? Because he realized to become a president or to become a prime minister for India, he can only rely, he can take help from the support from the MPs, number of MPs. So because of that, we have only MP. Because of that, he doesn't care. Of course, Manipur, whether you like me or not, I don't care. If I like to form my power, if I like to hold on my power and rule further, I need UP, I need Bihar, I need like Punjab or like Haryana, the other country. So one is this. One is why his negligence, especially he, PM Modi. Number one is we don't have economic power. We rely too much on the center. Actually, we beg for our living. Number two, the number of population is very small, so we have only 2 MPs. And this cannot help much to put him into the chair to rule the country further. So we are useless, actually. Economically, financially, we are we only beg. So maybe they are tired of us. Second point, we cannot do much about supporting him to make him the president, prime minister. Number 3, we have a very, very bad reputations among the political leaders. In the last 75 years, Manipur has been put into CNN, into the BBC, as the most corrupted state, as one of the most corrupted states in India, right? So also, PM doesn't trust our politicians, our leaders. And for example, you see we have 60, right? Out of these 60, 10 already separated. They like to create a cookie homeland, a separate administration they like to bring. Then another 10 Naga MLAs, they are not also together in many matters. They are not together with the Valley people, with the Meetei people, right? So when they go to Delhi, why the PM doesn't give the opportunity or the chance or time to meet with our leaders? While Mizoram Chief Minister goes, he can meet. Their minister can meet easier than Manipur's. Why? Because ours is not united. One thing is we are not united. Our leaders are not united. So one is very corrupted, one is not united. So whatever the central leaders decide to do, they can do. And the one thing is our leaders are not vocal. They, especially the ruling parties, ruling party members, they are supposed to stand up strong and brave and vocalize, shout loud for the people of Manipur, for the suffering, for the dead people, for our own rights. But what do they do? G. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Those are the only answers our leaders give to especially our ruling party. Because actually, we have 2 engines. They said 2 engines, right? Manipur is BJP rule, and center also BJP. But actually, things are supposed to be done quicker and more effectively because there is no interference. But why they cannot even solve such a small thing? That shows our central leaders think too much about political gain and too much about economic, financial help they give to Manipur, and also too much corruption in our leaders, because whatever money they spend, they sanction to Manipur, where does the money go? In the pockets. So that's why they can have this kind of indifference attitude. I mean, they can neglect whatever we ask. So if we like to stop this, we have to stand up, and we should try to be good leaders. We have to think for the people, and we should serve the people. We should be more, we should be brave. We should pronounce what we want to say to the center. Not holding the chair, not embracing the chair all the time. Oh, I don't like to lose. Of course, they have the right to think that way because they have spent crores of rupees during the election. Of course, they like to save that money, but things are different now. In such a situation, they have to change our leaders' attitude. They should be brave. They should be pronounced. They should be vocal, and they should shout, and they should stand up and demand, ask what we should get to the central.
Indeed, very beautiful points from very beautiful point from Mr. Shantikumar. So with that, we have come to the end of today's episode, and our experts today have been discussing regarding the topic PM Modi's silent zone Manipur, and our experts have put forward the thoughts that this silence from the leader of one of the largest democracy and one of the fourth largest military is even unprecedented and even troubling. And also they have pointed out that by looking at Manipur from the lens of election is not just now looking at from the lens of the elections is indeed very troubling, and even a blunder to the state of the BJP government. And even by saying that the double engine government that is being formed in Manipur and the center, it looks like that one of the engine is even broken, and it could lead to losing the constitutional fabric of the country. With that, I'd like to come to the end of today's episode. I'd like to thank our panelists for joining us tonight, Hossein Satyajeet, Advocate Victor, and also Dr. Shantikumar for joining us on the show. Thank you once again. I'd also like to thank our viewers for tuning in tonight. We will be back again next Monday with many more exciting topics. Until then, have a good day.